Eddie Hearn. I think he's a coward. I think he's got to face the media and ask proper questions, grown-up questions, not those powder puff, pillow-fisted questions that Kugan Cassius put to him. Welcome to Talk Boxing, a new weekly show with myself, Simon Jordan, and Spencer Oliver, where we get to talk about all the hot subjects in boxing. We get to talk about them in detail, in depth, forensically, and also get to talk about the questions that you want to put to us. Spencer Oliver, how are you?
Simon Jordan, I'm very well, thanks. Yourself?
Very good. Despite the fact I may not have been schooled in stepping in the ring, boxing is a sport that I love. A lot of passion for it. I believe it's one of the best sports around because of the authenticity, the integrity of it. So when they talked to me about doing this show, it was something that really interested me because boxing is a sport I adore. And you and I get to talk about it regularly, repeatedly, and I think with a degree of honesty. So we'll be able to do that in a more protracted fashion without being distracted by people like Jim White who don't know anything and talk about the subjects that are hot during the course of this week. And with that in mind, just how bad a week has this been for boxing and, of course, for people like Eddie Hearn?
Listen, I think it's been a terrible week for boxing. It's been the worst week for boxing for as long as I can remember, if I'm totally honest, you know, with everything that's gone on with this big fight with Benn and Chris Eubank and, you know, Benn coming back, testing positive by the VADA anti-doping commission. It's been a really bad week, if I'm totally honest. It's put a grey area over the sport. It's been a hot topic. I think that fight sort of captured the imagination of people outside your casual boxing fan, really. I mean, everyone was talking about it with the history of the families and etc.
It's been a disappointing week, isn't it? We're going to highlight it and use hyperbole to say it's been a dreadful week in boxing. There's been plenty of weeks in boxing where things have gone on that you would not like to see. We've seen people accused of drug cheating before and people redeemed of it. We've seen, tragically, boxers die during the sport. You've had your own challenges in boxing. So there's been dreadful weeks in boxing. The challenge for me is when you start taking a sport, we all know there's certain aspects of boxing that are murky and that are far from perfect. But when you start taking a sport that is steeped, from my view, in the integrity of the sportsman's aptitude, bravery and courage, and you start putting it into the area where there appears to be collusion, when you've got promoters that seem to be more interested in putting a fight on than protecting the integrity of the sport, then you have sanctioning bodies that seem to not be sanctioning or running the sport properly, and the only way that a fight was stopped was because a newspaper broke a story. You're moving into the territory of looking at the sport through a set of eyes that compromise all aspects of it. Now, I don't want to disappear up my own backside about how important an event this is. But when you hear something like this, Spence, as a former fighter that had your challenges, that your health and well-being came to the fore as a result of it, and you see a situation where the fighters are being asked if they want to fight, well, fighters want to fight, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So they're the last people you ask, right? And you've got promoters that seemingly aren't interested in the importance of an adverse finding. What we mean is a failed drugs test. And then you see the British Boxing Board of Control seemingly only responding when a newspaper breaks a story. What do you think that tells the most important people besides the fighters, the viewing public?
Yeah, it's not a good advert at all, if I'm totally honest. You know, like you say, Simon, you know, I had a near-death experience in the sport, you know, and that was without anything like this going on, you know. So I know the dangers of the sport, and I knew the danger of this fight going in when they put Chris Eubank at 157 was not a good thing to do anyway. I think he was always in that danger area going down to 1.57.
Did you see the pictures of him? Did you see how shredded he looks?
Absolutely, yeah. But like how thin he looks and how so what I'm saying is shredded was absolutely, but it was a weight that he hadn't made since he was 18 years of age, so there was always going to be an element of danger surrounding that, and the boxing board had to keep a close eye on him, which they was doing.
But doesn't this make it even more incomprehensible that knowing all these things, knowing that we've got somebody going up 2 weights and all that goes with that, but more pertinently, we've got someone coming down significant weights, not being able to rehydrate to a level that he may have been previously been able to do, now being put in jeopardy, and everybody seemingly shrugging their shoulders.
Absolutely.
Can you find any mitigation in any of this?
I can't, Simon. That's where I was going with it. I just can't. I'm just going. He was coming in at an alarmingly low weight that everybody had to really monitor it and keep an eye on it. And then we go on the flip side and we look at Conor Benn and what he's doing, and he's coming up 2 weight divisions. But he fails a positive test for this fertility drug, which increases the testosterone levels, and we know it's a masking agent for other substances, etc., etc., etc. And like now he's in a position where he's not been suspended, but there's an ongoing investigation. But the alarming thing for me, is a technicality.
He's not been suspended because VADA is a voluntary organisation. Is this right, Spence? And I want to just check this because there's rumours circulating around about other tests that have yet to come to the fore, and I'm not just talking about the B sample. I'm talking about the WBC care program. Is it right that Conor would have signed up to this voluntarily? I think it costs about 30 grand a year to sign up to it, doesn't it? But only signed up to it because he goes inside the top 15 of the WBC, and it's a mandatory requirement to have a voluntary test if you're inside the top 15 of world ratings in the WBC. Am I writing that?
100%. Yeah, that's what happened. Was Conor didn't sign up to the VADA testing last year and was taken out of the top rankings for that reason. So he had to sign up to the WB. He had to sign up to this voluntary testing by VADA, which, by the way, Eddie's always called the golden testing of all the testing, all the anti-doping testing. So
it shows a systemic failing in the ultimate equation of running the sport properly. I want to go back a second just for 30 seconds. Eddie Hearn, I think he's a coward. I think he's got to face the media and be asked proper questions, grown-up questions, not those powder puff, pillow-fisted questions that Kugan Cassius put to him that were all staged and ultimately not answered. Proper grown-up questions from people that are capable of asking him those questions and then interrogating the answers. What do you think the landscapes look like for Eddie? This looks dreadful, the situation surrounding the fight that's just been stopped between Conor Benn and Chris Eubank. It looks disappointing for Fury and Joshua. Do you think Eddie Hearn's got some serious, significant explaining to do in both instances?
100%. It's not, we need some answers.
Let's see if Eddie's got the courage of his convictions to come and answer questions from people that can actually hold a question. Look, let's move on from a bad week and move on to the summation of outcomes, because ultimately what we want to be is in the business of finding solutions to problems. And one of the questions that will abound in sensible people's minds, because boxing seems to get away with certain perspectives. We're talking about rugby and football with head contacts and people that get in dementia, and boxing doesn't get into that territory. And that's why I worry about the British Boxing Board of Control not being fit for purpose. But one of the questions comes out of this, and naturally it will, is drug cheats. I hope, I pray that Conor Benn can find some explanation for this. I suspect he can't. I suspect that the B sample, which comes back 99.9% of the time, the same as the A sample, will come back with the same results. And I hope it doesn't, and I hope they can find some explanation. But here's the question for us. Drug cheats. Should they have no redemption? Should they be banned for life once they've been caught cheating? What's your take on it?
Yeah, listen, I've always been strong on that. I've always been strong on the fact that I don't believe in giving them a second chance. I think we're in a sport.
No second chance.
No second chance. I think that we're in a sport that is is the hurt business. It's a blood sport.
No redemption at all.
No redemption at all. No, I'm strong about that.
Unconditional. Not even people that have served a significant period of time banned, accept a new regime, that they'll be tested monthly, understand the financial ramifications, make all the necessary reparations. You're basically saying, no 3 strikes and you're out.
No 3
strikes and you're out.
No.
One, you fail a test and gone ski.
Absolutely, because I just believe then that moving forward, people would think twice about doing it. If they think, well, you know what, I'll get a second chance anyway. I might get a slap on the wrist or I might get a couple of year ban. Then, I think that they would still be tempted to do that in certain situations. I'm just a strong believer in. I just think that, like I say, it's a sport that nearly cost me, and so I'm just looking at it, going, I know the dangers of the sport going in, and we just don't need people with performance-enhancing drugs in their system. When other fighters are making weights, etc., etc. I just don't think it's a good look, and I'm strong on saying no.
Yeah, I mean, I will bow to a greater level of knowledge, but from a less, not pious point of view, but say a little bit more relaxed or prepared to give people the benefit of the doubt, or prepared to believe that people can redeem. If you're a recidivist, i.e. someone that gets caught and does it again, gone, forget about it, you don't get a third chance. But when we're talking about young athletes that may well make mistakes, and what I wanted to ask you, what about, I'll come back to my original point, but I just want I'm going off piece for a second.
That's good.
What about this observation that 90% of fighters at some point in their career have been juicing or something like that? 30% allegedly of the roster Eddie HEARN has put on over the last year, and I think it's slightly unfair to characterise it that way, because he can't be responsible for what Canelo Alvarez did a few years ago.
Yeah, sure.
Right? But what do you make to that overall allegation that your industry, the one that nearly cost you your life, and ultimately you love and thrive and survive as a result of now, has that level of potential, I say corruption because I can't think of a better word at this moment in time, I'll think of a different one in a minute, but what do you think about those statistics?
Yeah, I mean them statistics are mind-blowing, if I'm totally honest.
Right?
But no, I don't think, I think that may be a little bit strong.
Over-exaggerated.
Yeah, a little bit over-exaggerated. I don't think that there's that sort of level. But what concerns me, Simon, what does concern me about this whole situation...
That would make you right then. If that level of representation, if it were, right, you're saying it's not, but let's just say it is for the sake of a second, for devil's advocate. If it were, then your idea of bang, you're out from the first get-go would send shockwaves, because it means that the people that were doing it in abundance, i.e. there's so many of them doing it, would get the message pretty quick. If it's not, then I do think we move the dial back a little bit to significant consequence. Years of your career, which has its flip side of an argument, because if you're not fighting for years, you can come back into the ring and cause yourself even more harm because you're not fit for purpose anymore. So there's a flip side to everything. But the other side of the equation is that you are not having any redemption. You are simply saying, if you get tested, would you up the regimes? Would you make testing more regular?
Well, this is where I was going to go.
I think it's cycles, isn't it?
The testing system needs to change. That's for sure. Things need to become compulsory. But the alarming thing about this one doctor who said, you know, it's easy to get away with this drug testing. It's easy to get away with this, like, you can get it out of the system in 7 hours. That's alarming for me. But I just think we need random testing and compulsory testing, maybe once a week, maybe once. And I know people will say, well, what about the financial side of that? And how does it deal with it? It is what it is. How are you going to clean it up any other way? I just think that the random testing, compulsory testing once a week, just to try and keep it as clean as possible. You know, I just think that's very important, Simon. I just think that, you know, we get enough injuries in this sport anyway. We have to keep it as clean.
We have to clean it up.
Yeah, we have to clean it up.
And, you know, and tragically, it would seem we have to clean it up from the top to the bottom right now, not just what the fighters are doing, but everyone else is doing.
Absolutely.
As well. Chris Eubank Jr. He's the only one, I would say, that's come out of this debacle with any credibility. Where does he go next? Because I've always accused him of talking about world title fights and then fights Liam Williams, and talks about the fights that he's going to have, but never seems to manifest them into real grown-up, challenging for title fights. Where does he go now? What does he do now? His currency's high now, right?
His currency is very high. It's changed dramatically. You know, if you just listen to the public, you know, and their perception.
I still think he should have said no, though. I still think the moment he knew Conor Benn was failed a drug test, he shouldn't have just said, because he would have, if that fight was for 250 grand, he'd have said no.
I agree.
Because
totally
it's 4 million quid. But going back to the question, where do you think he goes?
Going back to that question, I think that if he's sensible, and if he does it right now, he goes and tries to challenge for a world title or somewhere, Charlo or someone like that. He needs to go and he needs to box for a world title now. We've been talking about it since when he boxed Liam Williams last time. We said, well, I thought he was going to box for a world title, but now you're boxing Liam Williams. He was forgiven for that, right? But now we need to see him in a meaningful fight. Well, he's 32 years of age. He needs to go into a world title fight. And do you know what worries me about this, Simon?
Fighting Liam Smith?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a fight that I would. That's a fight that I would say. Yeah,
I think Benn quite likes that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben Shalom wants that fight, and you never know with what Charlo's doing or whatever. That title may become vacant. They may be able to pick that title up and make that for a title, because it's worthy of a world title fight. If I'm totally honest, that is Liam Smith's. Got a lot of credibility.
Did you see Liam in the last fight?
Yeah, I did. Well, I was at ringside.
Got caught.
Yeah, he did, and the guy just quit out of nowhere. It was all a bit weird.
Yeah.
But that's, Liam Smith's a fight that I would actually like to see, but I also want to see Chris now challenging for these titles. My main concern is this Jake Paul name keeps coming up, and I even seen him tweeting about it since this has happened. And I go, Chris, please do not go down that road now. You don't need to. He's in a really strong position at the moment with the public and everything, where everyone is just going, you know what, I respect and have changed my views on Chris Eubank Jr. Let's hope that he gets that world title shot, if not someone of Liam Smith's calibre. Somewhere like that, that's where he needs to be.
See, I mean, I have to say, I've been quite disparaging of Chris Eubank Jr. And I know it's easy for me to say because I've never laced up gloves and wouldn't have an iota of understanding what it's like to go in a ring. Doesn't mean I'm not any less of a student. It just means that I can have that card played. Yeah. And I've constantly talked about Eubank Jr. and this endless diatribe about what he's entitled to, how good he is. But I have to say, watching him during the press conferences and the build-up to the fight that never happened, I became more and more impressed with him. I don't subscribe to the 60% view. I think he was ready to fight. So this nonsense that he was eating Kentucky Fried Chicken and only 60% fit was, for me, just nonsense and playing with Conor Benn's mind. But I warmed to him. I thought he was a very elegant interview and a very clever, smart young man. But is he going to actually... I think, and I think you think as well, that there's a desire to perhaps negotiate a vacant title shot for him somewhere along the line where he doesn't fight a champion, he fights a vacated
That's
belt.
Right.
But is he capable of winning a world title at this level? Because he's gone in with George, and George was much bigger. He's gone in with Billy Joe Saunders, and it was a narrow fight, but Billy Joe Saunders was an elite technician and I think a better fighter. Right? You know, James DeGale was a washed out James DeGale, right? That's fair enough.
Oh, that's very fair. Yeah,
can Chris Eubank win a world title? Can he really win a world title?
I think he can.
And defend it.
I mean, I'm not sure like how long he holds it for or what, but I think he can win it and defend it. I'm sure of that. I really do. I think there's a little bit of momentum around him, and I think that teaming up with Roy Jones Jr. was only a good thing for him. And we saw when he was trying to make that transition, there was a little bit too much Roy Jones going into his style or whatever. But we saw in his last contest against Liam Williams is where I watched him. And I looked there, and that was back in, when was that? February time down in Cardiff. And I looked at him and I went, for the first 5 or 6 rounds, I'm going, I think this kid looks like he's adjusted well to the Jones style. He looks like he's found a style. It didn't look like he was in between styles. But so I thought that was a great performance. And that for me was like, I think there's been worse champions out there than him anyway.
Sure. So who would you put him in with them? If we're going to ride this wave of current popularity, right? And I think to some extent he deserves it. For actually the way that he talked during a fight, I thought was very eloquent and articulate and educated and erudite. And often you don't get that. You get a lot of old claptrap, don't you? And I thought he was clever in the way he manipulated the conversations. He's come out of it with credit, albeit I think he should have walked away from the fight the moment he knew there was a failed drugs test, because in fact he's condoning a practice in a sport that he shouldn't be condoning. The only reason he's doing it is for money. But all that to one side, and give him the credibility for being the victim of the scenario. Who does he fight next and capitalise on this momentum?
Tough one. Do you know the fight I would have liked to have seen him go into that I thought would have been a great opportunity for him and a massive name on his record, and that was Triple G. Obviously before the Canelo defeat. Because Triple G, we saw when he boxed Murata, because that was a fight that I thought that's a winnable fight for Chris Eubank Jr. And then Triple G boxed him, got the titles back. When he boxed Murata, you looked at him and thought, wow, you can see the cracks appearing. He looked old. He looked slow and vulnerable at times. So that's why I would have said, who do I like to see him in with now? It's tough, you know. Charlo's a tough fight, a real tough fight. But
well, we'll see, won't we?
Yeah.
Either which way, I think it needs to happen relatively quickly.
Yeah, I agree.
He's fit, ready to fight, so he might as well get in the ring with someone as quick as possible, mightn't he?
Absolutely. Listen, forget the warm-ups. We don't need warm-ups. He's at the stage of his career where we need world title shots.
But we will see.
Yeah.
We will see. The Fury-Joshua debacle.
Yeah.
When you think of this, where do you... I believe it's 258 management don't want the fight.
Yeah.
I believe it's to do with the zone and ongoing deals with Anthony Joshua. I don't believe that necessarily Eddie is that much of a fault, albeit he's not been as responsive as he'd like the world to believe.
Yeah.
People will suggest that I've got some sort of allegiance with Frank Warren, and that because I like Frank, I'll buy into everything that Frank says. I don't think that's the case at all. I think Queensberry have worked harder to get this deal done. There's been more integrity in Tyson Fury's position by offering 60-40 than there was from Joshua's side. How disappointing a week is it that we don't get a fight that came out of nowhere? Let's be clear about that. People are saying that Fury's trading off Joshua's name. How disappointing and how bad a look is it, given the fact we had Parker versus Joyce, a very difficult fight to make, and it got made.
Yeah.
How difficult and disappointing a week is this for boxing? We miss out on a big occasion like this.
Huge. You know, like I say, we've just talked about, you know, that there with Chris Eubank and Conor Benn. Now we move on to this, which was a huge fight for British boxing, a fight that we needed. And it was a great opportunity for Anthony Joshua to leapfrog these dangerous fights, dangerous warm-up fights that he's going to have to get another shot. He's going to have to go through, you know, some serious contenders to get another shot. So all of a sudden he gets offered the Tyson Fury fight. But not only does he get offered the Tyson Fury fight, he gets offered 40%, which is huge. And I've got to tell you, Simon, Anthony Joshua wanted that fight. And I know that there's a lot of people... I
believe the fighter wanted it.
Absolutely.
And I believe both fighters wanted it.
Absolutely.
But wouldn't Anthony Joshua be better set waiting for Tyson Fury to fight Usyk, get all the belts? By definition, he can't keep them because then ultimately they get scattered, and then he gets to fight for a vacant belt. So isn't there a school of thought that Anthony Joshua takes the smart move and doesn't take this fight, even though people think it's redemption, quick, fast, you beat Fury, you're already back on top of the pile. Wouldn't you be better off not taking that fight, fighting for a vacant belt, and then coming back to the table somewhere down the line with a belt?
You would, but this is my fault on it. This is my train of thought on it. I'm going, well, Anthony Joshua doesn't take that fight. So he's chose the option which you've just highlighted there, which is a very possible one. So say Derek Chisora boxes December the 3rd, rumoured to be boxing... Tyson Fury boxes December the 3rd, rumoured to be boxing Derek Chisora, and we'll get to that bit in a minute. But say he comes through Derek Chisora, then he boxes Alexander Usyk and he wins that. Does he want to go again, or will he retire? Tyson Fury, that's one of the things. But in the meantime, Anthony Joshua's going to have 2 fights to keep active in between that against good opposition. And there's a danger that he loses one of those fights. And if he does that, the opportunity's gone. Yeah. So what I was saying to Anthony Joshua at the time was, I went, mate, this is the fight that you've always wanted. This is the big fight. This is the fight that the public wanted. Go for it, get it done.
Will we ever, or should we actually be bothered? I think we should. But will we ever see Fury versus Anthony Joshua?
I think we may have missed it. We've missed the boat. If I'm totally honest, I think we've missed the boat on this one. I think that was the prime opportunity. And I spoke to AJ about that as well. I said, listen, mate, if it don't happen now, it may never happen. And I just feel that now their paths are just totally going the other way. Eddie Hearn has obviously got another agenda for Anthony Joshua. He wants him to go down a different road. And I just think it's all about... Where is
that, by the way?
Well, I think that exactly the points that you said there, they're hoping that Tyson Fury goes in against... This bout possibly against Derek Chisora on December the 3rd. In fact, it is Derek Chisora on December the 3rd. I know that.
That's
and we can
payday,
talk.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so he's going to go Derek Chisora December the 3rd. That road leads to Alexander Usyk. We're talking about March sort of time.
Joshua's got a fight in December, isn't he?
Yeah, so Joshua's fighting December the 17th, they're talking about, with no opponent been named yet.
Any idea?
But no opponent been named yet, and I've got no idea who they're going to be talking about. But again, Anthony Joshua December 17th, him there. Then he fights Alexander Usyk. Joshua's got a fight again in between then. Then it's whether Tyson Fury decides he wants to continue boxing, whether he gives up boxing. What I'm saying is it seems like we're a million miles away from it. There's so many moving parts. Again, we've been so close to this fight 2 or 3 times now, but for one reason or another, we've never got it over the line. And I think this was the best opportunity. Once this went, I go, well, listen, we knew Frank Warren wanted it. We knew that Anthony Joshua wanted it. We knew that... Tyson Fury wanted the fight, but politics got in the way and the fight never happened.
I think egos, politics, and also the reality of people's commercial deals. Potentially, if Anthony Joshua gets knocked out in the 3rd round of fighting Tyson Fury, I'm not sure DAZN want to continue paying 120 million quid. I'm not sure certain people in 258 would want to see that happen.
Sure.
That's a different discussion.
Yeah.
But insofar as the fight's concerned...
So my answer to your question
who wins
was...
that fight?
Chisora and Fury.
No, it's not Chisora.
I'm sorry, Joshua.
The retirement home wins that fight.
I've got Chisora on my mind now. No, Joshua Fury.
Yeah.
Who wins that fight?
Who would win it?
At the moment, Tyson Fury would be an overwhelming favourite. And I think that's Joshua coming off the back of a couple of wins, and I think that he needs to be in a position where he needs that confidence building again. But yeah, at the moment, you would be stupid to say Tyson Fury doesn't start an overwhelming favourite going into that.
We've got various questions from the audience. So I'm going to put them to you, Spence, then critique your answers. I make out like
surprise.
Right. Eddie ED, or Eddie Ed. What is the strongest weight division in boxing?
strongest weight division in boxing.
It's got to be welterweight, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's lightweight. It's lightweight. Really? Yeah, you've got Lomachenko, Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Davis, Cruz, Sabida.
So Terence Crawford, and Errol Spence, and Keith Thurman, and Mikey Garcia, and all that crowd don't feature in that thinking.
No. Listen, you're a close second. I'll give you that. You're a close second, but the lightweights, they're all young. It's a very, like, if you look through the top 8 to 10 fighters in that lightweight division, they're all very good, young, strong fighters. Devin Haney's another one in there as well. Cambosos is another one in there. I mean,
the Australian.
Just give me a couple of minutes, mate, and I'll just keep reeling them off. It's a strong division.
But put aside the strength of fighters, which is the most exciting division. Let me rephrase, let me repackage the question. Eddie didn't ask it, I'm going to ask it.
All right.
What is the most exciting division?
Well, middleweight was the weight that intrigued me and got me into boxing, really.
Were you flyweight?
I'm not that small, mate.
I don't know.
No, super bantamweight. What do you mean? We've just started doing a show together and you've not even researched what weight I was.
Well, I did. I watched it last night, but I fell asleep during some of your fights. I'm sorry about that, Spence. Weren't the best. Next question is from Alex AB, or Alex Ab, or however you bloody pronounce it. Are you backing Shields or Marshall? We just had we had Clarissa on the show the other day. She was very shy, retiring figure.
I was going to say that.
That you wish the best for, don't you? Because she's so ingratiating. Tell me. Marshall Shields, who's going to be the winner? Who do you think is going to be the winner? We want Savannah, right?
Clarissa Shields. Yeah. Let me tell you, she nearly attacked me on the last fight.
Well, that's understandable.
Did you make her Jaffa cakes? No, so we done a documentary, and I just said that Savannah was.
I said that, you know.
You let me speak or not?
Go on.
Anyway, right. So we've done this documentary about the fight, Clarissa Shields, Savannah Marshall, and I said that Savannah Marshall has grown as a person. She's developed as a person, and she's found that confidence that she needed. She always had the talent, the technical ability in the locker, but never had the confidence.
Because I said that to Clarissa, she just laughed.
Well, no, she went into me. She went into me, mate. She just went to me. Confidence don't win fights. Confidence don't win. And I was like, yeah, all right. I think Savannah Marshall wins. I just think that.
Why and how?
I think that she's very big for the weight. She's got good range. I think Peter Fury's added that boxing IQ that she needed, really, Savannah. She's always, like I say, she always had that technical ability, but she's never sort of like driving the ship. She's never manoeuvred it right. And I think now she's at her best. She's relaxed. She's very heavy-handed. And I think at some point she will catch Clarissa, who, by the way, is a great fighter. Yeah. She really is. But I just think that Savannah may well have her number. She won the amateurs. When they boxed in the amateurs, by the way, she won that fight.
Second round,
She won in the World Championship.
Yeah,
she
in
won
2012.
2012. She won the fight 11-4 or 12-4, something like that. She won it quite convincingly anyway. And I just think stylistically, she might be all wrong for Clarissa.
We saw again, I'm going to go off piste again, but slightly come back onto the subject. We saw in the amateurs, Dillian Whyte beat Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
And saw nothing resembling that in the pros.
Well,
is there any correlation? Can we take anything from Savannah Marshall besides the psychological thing that playing around Clarissa's head?
No, I'm going to take you back to Joshua versus Dillian Whyte.
Yep.
Second round. Dillian Whyte hit Joshua with a left hook, right? And I've got to tell you, I was there at ringside, and it took Joshua the best part of 3 rounds to recover. You think if he gets clipped again, he's gone, right? And I think it was inexperience that let Dillian down at that stage because he hadn't competed at that level, and inexperience may have let him down. What I'm saying is that I think that Savannah's gone to a different place. Clarissa is a great fighter. She's always been a great fighter, and I think she's super, super confident. But I just think that Savannah Marshall, where she's got this newfound confidence, and that's all down to Peter Fury and the team around her, being around her. So that's grown her as a fighter.
No danger she freezes.
No danger she
Huge
freezes.
Audience.
No danger she freezes. I think that's all in the past, and I just think that I think she's sort of.
I think Savannah Marshall wins by stoppage. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you. Savannah by stoppage.
Good luck, Savannah. Final question. R-Force 88.
Yeah.
What's your top 3 boxing movies?
I like that.
I'll go first with Beijing Bull.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to go The Champ.
I went to the movies in Leicester Square to watch that.
Yeah, but I'm not that old. I watched it at home when I was a child.
Fine, because nobody wanted to take you to the cinema because nobody wanted to see it out with you, did they? Really?
Couldn't afford it.
But
Anyway,
go on,
where are we?
Third one.
Right,
So we've got Raging Bull.
Yeah.
We've got the Champ. Don't give me any Rocky crap. Because of the last. What was the last one?
I won't go
Speech.
Rocky.
It's not how hard you can get hit.
I won't. There is no tomorrow.
Go on. What is it? Third one.
Third one.
Can't be this gauntlet.
What was it?
$1 Million Baby?
No. Is there one? Was it Gladiator? Was it Gladiator?
Is that a boxing film?
Yeah, was it? There was, no, not
Rancid
the,
Aluminium?
not the Gladiator.
Was Rancid Aluminium a boxing film?
No.
Rising Mercury. I don't know. I'm making that was a bleeding go along. Third boxing film. You know that of all the sports, the most featured,
we said
the
the
most
three, didn't we say
featured
them?
sport is boxing.
Yeah.
So why aren't you coming up with it? What about Grudge Match? That was really good.
Oh my God! I've got a good story about that.
Is it a long story?
No, it's a short one.
Okay.
So it's so I went to the press conference. I went
you're
to
trying to buy time.
No. I went to the press conference. And
Creed.
met love Creed. Met Robert De Niro, and I've got a good story about that.
You sprayed some of mine earlier on, didn't you? That's expensive after.
Yeah, no, yeah, he told me, 350 quid. Yeah, like you thought I didn't know. Yeah.
Well, you
But
anyway,
anyway,
on the shelves before you nicked it.
no, what I do is I go down to Selfridges and you get free samples, don't you?
Yeah. Well, what eyeball you up there? I've got sample on it.
Sorry, mate. You're in here every day. You are at the same time.
Showering in the toilet,
knocking at the door.
Table. Have you got a third bloody film?
Hold on, can I tell you the story about the grudge match?
Okay,
I've got to tell you the story about the grudge match because it was quite a poignant moment in my life where I met Robert De Niro and Sylvester Stallone and we was having a chat.
People are losing the will to live.
Right, so there's me, there's Adam Smith, there, Johnny Nelson, Robert De Niro, and Sylvester Stallone. Yeah. And I'm not name dropping. You know, it is what it is. I was there and was chatting to them and I asked them who would win out of Rocky and Raging Bull.
Check LaMotta, right?
Yeah, no, but I was saying it's a fantasy fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, but who would win?
Well, LaMotta's a middleweight and Rocky's
Yeah,
a
it doesn't matter.
heavyweight.
It's a fantasy fight. Who do you think would win?
Never put me down.
Because you got to remember that
Who's
LaMotta
that?
was.
Which one is that?
Huh?
That's Jake LaMotta. And who did he say it to?
Who
Who did he say you never put me down?
You're going to. Yeah, I don't know.
You watch this bloody film.
No. You're going to
Sugar
tell
Ray
me.
Robinson. He said to Sugar Ray Robinson, you never put me down. I'm just trying to get to the punchline.
Yeah. All right. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I'm speaking to I was speaking to those, and it was like just one of those moments where they were very invested in boxing. They both loved their boxing.
What was the answer?
What do you mean? What was the answer?
The fantasy fight. Who wins the fight? Was it a question they asked?
Yeah.
Or did you answer the bloody?
Yeah,
question?
Raging Bull.
Like I said.
Yeah, they both agreed on that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was right from the outside.
Well, you're always right, aren't you?
Thank you.
All right. Anyway, move on. Third boxing.
boxing
You give me one.
I just said Creed.
Nah,
I would always
not
go.
the third
I would
best,
probably,
mate.
I would probably go $1 Million Baby because of the substance matter. Because
Yeah, I
of the
liked
brilliant
it.
acting
That was
from
good.
Hilary
And it
Swank.
was based on a true story.
Yeah. And I would probably go from poignancy, if I wanted to get a fourth one in it just because I can, is probably Rocky 3. Right, that's it for the first episode of Talk Boxing. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the talkSPORT Boxing channel. Of course, keep leaving those brilliant questions in the comment section below. And myself and Spencer will look forward to seeing you next week.